Good morning, everyone. We'll wait just another minute or two to give a few more people a chance to log in, and then we'll get started.
Steve, can you hear me?
Hi, Joelle. I can.
Good morning. Awesome. I was trying to do it by phone, but that didn't work for some reason.
That is quite all right.
My connection from where I am wasn't great for the 9 a.m. call, so I'm going to try this over the computer. Well, hopefully it'll work properly.
Okay.
Ready to go? All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Steve, for starting the call. Welcome, everyone, to this morning's webinar organized by SOLIDWORKS. I'll introduce myself. I'm Joelle Guénette. I am the Territory Sales Manager for Eastern Canada. So starting from Ontario through Quebec into the Maritimes. So lovely area. We've got beautiful sun today and into the weekend. So we're kicking this off nicely. The topic for today is the top 7 functionalities of PDM Professional. And for those of you who are on this call, I'm sure you saw the invitations for a series of webinars that were hosted this month. And the first one in the month was an introduction to PDM. So this one was held by Michel Cloutier and myself. Michel, who is the Territory Technical Manager for Eastern Canada as well. And he spent 45 minutes with a whole group of people. Hopefully most of you were on that call to get a good overview of PDM. So we showed you how PDM is a great way to organize your data, a great way to keep your data secure, the ability to easily reuse data, to create workflows, essentially the way to share information with the right people at the right time, and have the right information shared, so that not everyone sees everything in your organization, and no one can see information if it's not ready for consumption. So this is kind of what we overviewed. At SOLIDWORKS, we have 2 different PDM offerings. We have a PDM Standard, which is included with your license of SOLIDWORKS Professional and SOLIDWORKS Premium. And we also have a PDM Professional. So today we're going to attempt to differentiate those 2 for you, and we're going to focus on the top 7 that Michelle chose in this case, functionalities of PDM Professional, and go through those so that we can share with you what our views are on that solution, and hopefully you can see how that applies to your enterprise. So unfortunately, Michelle couldn't be with us this morning. As we love to do, is face-to-face presentations with customers and show them how this can apply to them personally, which is what he's driving for today. But Steve has agreed to join us today and host this with me. So Steve, thank you for joining us. Steve is also a Territory Technical Manager, and he's going to be taking this presentation through with you guys, and I'll come back at the end to wrap it up and see what next steps are for everyone. So Steve has tons of experience, not only at SOLIDWORKS, but with SOLIDWORKS, and I'm going to hand it over to him and have him go through this information, and we'll talk to you in a bit. So over to you, Steve.
All right. Thanks, Joelle. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be with you this morning. PDM is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. It's one of my focuses here at SOLIDWORKS, and so I love taking an opportunity to share the benefits with people. And so, as Joelle mentioned, we're going to go through the top 7 PDM Pro features this morning, and with the idea being that data management in general is something that we're big advocates for, and we have 2 solutions: PDM Standard, PDM Pro, and ultimately we want you to choose the one that's right for you and for your company. So if we look at PDM Standard, just to define that initially, it's really a tool that we built and we designed to be for smaller work group environments, and typically a single location. It really only supports a single engineering group of team members. What is nice about it is it's included with SOLIDWORKS Professional and Premium packages. So the SOLIDWORKS CAD system that you're license that you're using likely does have it available. And we introduced this as a way to provide a replacement for Workgroup PDM, which we officially retired with the SOLIDWORKS 2018 release. We also have SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional, and Professional is this this full-feature data management solution that's really designed for the whole gamut of engineering teams. You know, here in the States, I have a great customer that's a two-man shop, and they use PDM Professional because they have regulatory compliance needs for the FDA. But then we have larger customers, multinational global customers that have, you know, hundreds of licenses of the tool, and so it's a solution that really is available for both. And let's talk through some of the reasons, the things that they both have in common initially, and then we'll move forward with the things you may want to consider as why Professional is a good choice. So the first thing is with any data management tool, we're talking about kind of core to it is the file management. So both of the tools are going to allow you to store your SOLIDWORKS documents, to manage the references and relationships of those SOLIDWORKS documents. They're going to revision manage those SOLIDWORKS documents, both of them. So the ability to have versions and revisions of your files without having to do the challenging, complicated scenarios of moving files into released folders and you know, appending file names with revisions and things like that. Our PDM solutions really help to streamline that and make it easy. Helps facilitate design reuse. As we'll talk about, both of these tools are built on SQL, a platform of SQL, and provide great search capabilities to be able to find SOLIDWORKS documents. And it's secure. So in order to access the environment, I have to provide my login information. And as Joel mentioned in the beginning, that ensures that the right people have the right files at the right time in the design process. So those are the fundamentals. In a lot of ways, what I'd call the four pillars of a good data management system. But let's spend a little bit of time now looking at why I would want to move to PDM Pro, right? So we're gonna count down the top 7 reasons here, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun. So number 7 is scalability. So with PDM Standard, as I mentioned, we've built it on top of SQL, but it's the SQL Express version, and so there's some inherent limits to the SQL Express server, specific to the amount of RAM it can reference, the size of the database, and the performance or the processor that it can access on the server. With PDM Professional, we are basically building this on top of SQL Server Standard. So as you can see, the resource, the amount of resources that SQL has access to is substantially larger. And what's also nice about this is that it has the ability to ultimately run on SQL Enterprise, if you like. And we'll talk about why you might want to do that as we go through this presentation. But again, the nice thing with PDM Professional is it's built on a full, full license of SQL Server Standard, and the license is actually included. So it's another nice benefit. If we build on this a little bit, PDM Standard, is definitely a green light, typically for 1 to 5 users. 5 to 20 users starts to get, we get a little bit cautious about, and definitely if you're more than 20 users, our experience has just told us that this isn't a good fit for PDM Standard. As I mentioned, PDM Pro is scalable across that whole breadth, and so it tends to make a lot of sense for the whole range of customers. But the reason that we like to talk about users is, one, it's an easy idea to get your head wrapped around, but ultimately what it amounts to is, and what really starts to affect things like performance, is the number of files that you're adding to the vault, and the number of versions of those files that are going to start to be created, and subsequently the number of folders. And so what we find is that as we move to the right and you start to get more and more users, the amount of data that's being generated, what's being asked of the system related to moving files through workflow, checking files in and out, and just the interactions with the PDM system, it really starts to require the backbone of the full SQL standard, and in order to ensure that the user experience is solid for our customers. Along this lines of scalability, the nice thing about this is that because it's completely underlaid with SQL, if at some point if you are on PDM Standard currently, or you're looking at PDM Pro, what you'll notice is that I can move across this continuum pretty easily. There's no migration, if you will, to go from PDM Standard to PDM Pro, or at some point if you decide to move from PDM Pro on a SQL Standard to SQL Enterprise, this isn't a migration endeavor. It's really just simply, I don't want to oversimplify it, of flipping a switch, but it's pretty straightforward. All right, number 6, replication. So with PDM Pro, we support distributed design teams. So you may have a location here in the States, you may have a location there in Canada, you may have a location in the UK and China, and all these locations need to be able to share data, whether it's for design reasons or share data between manufacturing teams. All these files need to be available. And so what PDM Pro does is it allows us to replicate the files to those different locations. What's nice about this is that we do this in 2 different ways. We can replicate it on a scheduled basis. So off hours at night, I want to replicate to my different locations to ensure everybody has access to the latest and greatest files. But we can also do this on demand. So if I've got a rush order that's happening to a design there in Canada, and it needs to start manufacturing down in Mexico that afternoon, the team down in Mexico, when they click on that file, the system looks at the overall where the files are and says, okay, I'm in Mexico, you're asking me for the latest version of that file, I'm going to do an on-demand replication. Right, so you start to think about ensuring the right parts are being built, minimizing engineering change orders, things like that. This idea of archive server replication, so we call the file store, becomes extremely powerful from a use case standpoint. What's also nice about PDM Pro is if you deal with global environments, you know that not all internet connections are created equal. And so what's also nice is that we can do database replication. So this ensures that users have a really great experience with the product, even in scenarios where latency between a location might be high. Now, it should be noted that this is the scenario that does require SQL Enterprise, and that licensing isn't included, but it is supported. So that's a really powerful advantage to utilizing PDM Pro. All right, number 5, data connectivity. Okay, so PDM really provides this platform for exchanging information with other business systems. Really common one is being able to import-export a bill of material. So oftentimes it's amazing to me when I engage with engineers and I hear about the amount of time that's spent just simply taking the bill of material that's calculated automatically inside of SOLIDWORKS and then is taken and manually then entered into another business system like an ERP or an MRP system, and the amount of time that's involved in that. And PDM provides this great platform that allows us to export that information in a neutral format like an XML file or Excel or text and be read into another business system, to help facilitate getting that bill of material entered more quickly. The other nice thing though is we can pull information. So being able to have the PDM system access a customer database and allow your engineers to select from that database from within inside of the system is really another really common use case that the PDM Professional helps to facilitate. All right, so data connectivity, it's a big one, and it's a great capability that PDM Pro offers. All right, email notification. Right, how do we make sure everybody's being notified of changes and things that are happening, and also how do we make sure it's easily accessible to them as well? So one of the things about PDM Professional is that based on triggers within the system, I'm ready to now release this file, or these designs are now available. I can actually send out notifications automatically to the users that are involved or that are affected by that change. What's also nice about this notification is that users can subscribe to a file. So if I've got a hot design or I've got a drawing that I need to know when the design changes on that drawing are made, because I either need to get it to a customer or I need to get it out to manufacturing, I can actually right-click on a file and subscribe to it and say, hey, notify me when this file changes to a released state, or whatever the trigger may be for you. That's another great capability. These notifications obviously can come via your mobile device, whether it's a phone or a tablet. And access to this data can also occur via the web. So just show a quick video here. I can access my vault while I'm on the go and be able to browse in and see these the files, the information. I can search on it as well. And I can preview not only the SOLIDWORKS files, but this is an Excel file that I'm looking at, so maybe I need to refresh my memory on the budget for this design, or I need to pull up I'm getting ready to head into a meeting and I need to be able to pull up the customer's request for proposal to review going in beforehand. And I can also access design data. So we have the integrated eDrawings preview that I can utilize to rotate and preview a design as well. Here I'm utilizing a tablet and browsing for the design on a tablet and accessing the SOLIDWORKS assembly, again, utilizing the built-in eDrawings preview, and in real time able to rotate this around and see exactly what this looks like. All right. So again, just another nice capability of PDM Professional of allowing you to access your notifications via tools like Outlook, and then access the data through the web. All right, number 3, multi-document management. Now, the thing about the engineering process is that of course, core and central to the design process are the CAD files. However, there's lots of supporting documentation that goes along with an engineering process. There's requests for proposals. There's potentially images of a product that need to be utilized or referenced. You may even have emails that you're getting from your customers that are need to be tracked with the project for things like approvals. What's nice about this is that with PDM Pro, we can manage and support the storing of a whole host of different documents. These are some common ones that often show up in the engineering process, but we in reality will view and print and support over 250 different file types inside of the vault. And to build on that a little bit more, we also have a direct integration with Microsoft Office. Now, fundamentally, any program that utilizes the Windows File Open or File Save As dialogues can access the vault, but with this integration, we actually build in a toolbar on the ribbon that allows you to have the access to the data management specific activities that happen. So just to run through a scenario here again, I've got another scenario I want to walk you through. Inside the vault here, I've got obviously the engineering data, the SOLIDWORKS assembly that I want to use and access. I can access a full eDrawings professional preview, so being able to measure, mark up. Anyone who has a license of PDM Pro has that ability. I also have the access to see many of the other SOLIDWORKS family of products. So this is an SMG file that's been created from SOLIDWORKS Composer. So we've integrated the preview directly into PDM Professional for that tool as well. And then also I can see that I've got the instructions, right? The assembly instructions that exist in a Word document that I'm able to visualize and see here. And as I'm scrolling down through this, I notice, you know, hey, I've got an image that I still need to add to this document. So let's go ahead and open it directly from inside of PDM Pro, and we'll open it up inside of Word. And let's run through a scenario where we're going to simply go through and add that image. Right, so you can see the existing images that I have. I need to get one in for the last piece of this, which is the battery replacement, so somebody knows exactly, you know, what to do there. We're going to browse into the vault. So here it's over on my favorites. As I mentioned, any tool that uses file open or file save as, those Windows services, can access the vault. So here I'm just going to grab the image, look at the preview to make sure that it's the one I want, and we'll go ahead and add it into the Word document. So we'll just use some basic positioning. Let's make sure it looks good. You know, we'll set it up here inside of the text. There you go. So that looks nice and clean. Now, on my ribbon toolbar now, I have the access to the SOLIDWORKS PDM toolbar. So I can see things like the data card. Data cards are a lot like a library card of information. So it gives me quick access to that information. I can also make sure that I get write access to this. So that's a concept of checkout inside of the PDM tool. So I'm going to check this out. You'll notice that I gained write access to it after I made these design changes. So it gives me a lot of flexibility in that sense that I can do it before or after. And I want to capture those, so I'm just going to say that I'm adding an image of this battery, and I'm going to check it back in. Now, what's nice for a lot of customers is that this gives them the ability not only to version and revision manage their CAD data, but it gives them a tool that allows them to version their non-CAD documents as well. So it's a great benefit of the tool that a lot of our customers see is, yes, this initially is going to support engineering, but man, there's a lot of other parts of our organization that can leverage PDM Pro simply because it versions and revisions a whole host of documentation. And at any point in time, I can pull up the older version and access it as well. All right. So the other thing that I'll touch base on is that PDM has a concept of workflow. This is this idea that documents have a set, maybe a path that they need to follow through our organization in order to get reviews done, in order to get sign-offs done. You know, you might relate this to maybe a manual process that you're doing now, where you're printing off a file or carrying a manila folder from office to office. So what's nice about this is that PDM Pro supports this for CAD documents, but oftentimes you're going to find that these other types of documents may have their own workflow. So a Word document that represents my engineering change sign-off is going to travel through a different route inside of our organization than the CAD document itself might. Or you know, a request for a sales quote might follow a different path, or the supporting document for it might follow a different path than the CAD document. And so what's nice with PDM Pro is that you can have as many different workflows as you like. There's really no limit to them. And that allows you the flexibility of being able to ensure that your documents, you've got the flexibility to route them within your organization through the path that makes the most sense. All right, number 2. This is one that actually a lot of people don't realize, but PDM Professional supports multiple CAD systems. So we support AutoCAD, we support PTC Creo, DWG, the draft site tool, Inventor, and Solid Edge. And what's nice about this is that obviously, as for many of our companies, as they're making transitions to SOLIDWORKS, or in some cases have small groups of designers that are still utilizing these other CAD tools, AutoCAD for plant layouts, etc. We have direct integrations with many of these tools, and that can be utilized. So the direct integrations, just to put some shape around that, means that inside of the CAD tool, you have access to the PDM commands and toolbars. So we do this for DraftSite, AutoCAD, Autodesk Inventor, and PTC Creo. And then we support Solid Edge. So we don't have a direct integration, but for all of these, including Solid Edge, we support their file types. And what I mean by that is that if I have an AutoCAD file that has XREFs, we understand those relationships. Inventor files, assembly and drawing files obviously have sub-child files that are parts that we understand those references. Same way with Solid Edge. And what's also neat about this is that not only do we understand those file relationships, we can extract the metadata. So the description, the part numbers, all of that kind of information is extracted so that we can actually generate a bill of material from their designs as well. So some really great capabilities when it comes to multi-CAD support. And when you pair this with SOLIDWORKS functionality like 3D Interconnect, it starts to become a really interesting way of efficiently working with your CAD data, especially if you have multiple CAD systems. All right, the number 1 is automation. And this is one of my favorites. I'm a huge advocate of automating things when available, and I love it when there's a tool that I can do that without necessarily having to be a programmer. Right? Sometimes I think when we think automation, we think, oh, I've got to have programming knowledge, I've got to have some experience there. But PDM Pro provides a platform that allows me to implement a lot of automation without having to have that kind of background. But the neat thing is that we also support programming as well. So if you want to develop a custom API or a custom set of things to happen within the tool, that's available as well. So some basic ones, some things like serial numbering. We can generate any number of different kinds of number of serial numbers and ensure that when I create a brand new file inside of SOLIDWORKS, it can automatically name that file the next available serial number. So you start thinking about many organizations that I walk into, they have an Excel book that does this, right? So an engineer goes in and they open up the Excel book and they they reserve the next available set of numbers so that nobody else grabs them for their project. With PDM Pro, we can just simply go in and, when they create the next file, it just pulls the next available serial number from the system. Project folders. This is another great one. Whether you do projects or programs or products, the ability to right-click and kick off a template that allows me to fill in some information. By the way, this is configurable. This can look and feel however you'd like related to the information you'd present to a user. But I can select this information, fill it out. We'll go ahead and hit OK. And it pulls the next available number for me. So you can see it's the project and the description. And it's pre-populated that folder with a standard set of maybe folders and or starting documents that we might like to see every time we kick off a new project or a program or, like I said, a new product line. But this is huge for a lot of companies because they like to be able to ensure that they have consistency in how they're structuring every new new design, and there's templates and documents that need to be filled out. So we can pre-populate all that information just simply by kicking off the next available project or the next available template. Another great one is tasks. So being able to have PDM kick off a task like running a design check or creating deliverables when it's released. This is another it's another interesting huge time suck for engineers, is every time they release drawings, oftentimes they have to create a whole deliverable package of PDFs. They have to create DXFs for a laser table or a burn table. And so these are things that we can actually automate simply by the workflow, right? So I'm going to take this design that's currently pending approval. You can see that in the state over on the right. And through the workflow, I'm going to go in and say that I want to release this. So a couple things are going to happen. It's automatically going to assign the revision for me. So we'll change the state and say this is approved. It'll go out, and we'll want to add a few comments here just to track the fact that we are releasing this design. I'll also draw your attention to the fact that it can prompt me for my password again. So if you do have situations where you need to double challenge for a password for digital sign-off, we can accommodate that. So I'm releasing this. It's going to go out and actually now create the PDFs associated that I might need with these designs. Not only PDFs, it could just as easily export DXFs or step files or any number of other neutral file formats based on the fact that we've released this. So there's my new PDFs that are generated. Another common request that comes out of this is, can we remove or add things like watermarks? And yeah, the answer is definitely yes. So you can see here that my SOLIDWORKS drawing now has the revision added. So if I just zoom in here, you can see that I've got Rev A on the drawing block. And when I look at the PDF, it also now shows that as well. I'll go ahead and open this up. Let's open it up in the preview just so that you get a better view of this. So the title block now has revision A as well. The other neat thing about this is we provide traceability. So when I look down on the Contains tab, I can see that this PDF is associated with this drawing, right? And so just like you're used to seeing in a SOLIDWORKS environment, I can actually look at the relationships associated with this. And vice versa, if I were to click on the drawing and the Where Used tab, it would point me to that PDF. So there's some great traceability that we can use between these two different, or through this approach. So being able to take a drawing and export it to a PDF in a limited fashion actually is available in PDM Standard. There are some limitations, but the full set of options and flexibility is really core to PDM Pro. We can also do this with DWGs out of DraftSite, Microsoft Office products. So these things that I'm describing, these are all out of the box, built-in activities that PDM Pro does out of the box. We can convert 3D CAD files. We can also do BOM exports, right? So being able to, on that workflow transition, take the bill of material and export it to Excel, CSV, or XML for another business system, right? So just a lot of flexibility, and then ECO, ECN. Again, we can kick off templates, much like you saw with the project, and make sure that information is filled in. The last one too is another favorite, is we actually have a print task. So I can click on a top level drawing and I can say, show me all the subsequent reference drawings associated with the parts that are in that top level drawing, and print it off. We've got a lot of flexibility in deciding, you know, the logic of which printer it goes to and size and that type of stuff. So the big takeaway, though, just to reiterate, is that PDM Pro provides this great platform for doing a lot of out-of-the-box automation that engineers spend a lot of time doing. That's really not part of why we all signed up to be engineers, right? So just to kind of recap, the top 7. One is scalability. It's built on top of SQL, so it's easily scaled from a performance standpoint. Replication, if you have distributed design teams or manufacturing facilities, replication ensures that your users aren't having to try and access files over a wide area network with slow performance and things of that nature. Data connectivity, ensuring that we allow the business systems that are in place to do what they do well, but ensure that we can talk to them and extract information. It's a huge benefit of PDM Pro. Making sure people are well informed of things that are happening associated with the engineering designs, when our files released, when do they require attention, etc. And being able to access those files wherever I am is really what number 4 is all about. Number 3, being able to do multi-document management. As I said, engineering, there's tons of supporting documents that go along with it, making sure that that information is captured, secured, and connected to the engineering project. Multi-CAD support, right? If you have divisions or parts of your organization that are using other CAD system, or not only that, if you're just simply getting CAD data from your customers that you need to keep as part of the engineering project, PDM Pro ensures that, again, that's well supported and is integrated. And then automation. It's the one we wrapped up on, but there's oftentimes lots and lots of return on the investment simply by the fact that I'm automating tasks that are typically very time consuming. All right, so those are the top 7 PDM Pro features. Joelle?
Thanks, Steve. That was great information. I hope everyone managed to retain all of that, and if you didn't, then don't worry about it. Then we're going to share this information with you in forms of the recording that you're going to get a link to when you receive an email thanking you for being on this call. So start the conversation in your company. Share this recording if you want with others. Start thinking about how you're doing things today, what your goals are in terms of data management, in terms of automation that we've talked about. How could this possibly be of benefit to you guys? And then invite us to this conversation. Invite your reseller to this conversation, so that we, with our knowledge of PDM, and you with your knowledge of how your enterprise, your company works today, together we can come up with a plan and with a solution to hopefully improve on what you're doing today and make you more productive, make your engineers more productive, take away some of the tasks that they don't need to be doing every day so that they can focus more on innovation, getting more designs or trying new designs, new things that your company could benefit from. So automation, definitely my favorite of the 7. That's the reason it's number 1. We could have showed less, we could have showed more functionality. There's a lot more that's included with the product. We settled on 7 because it was a good number and fit into the 45 minutes that we wanted to spend with you this morning. Remember, as I said, if you were on the call at the beginning of the month, PDM is an extremely powerful tool, but it's also an extremely flexible tool. And you've got to explore with us what that looks like and what that could mean for your company. And it is also an easily implementable and up and running very quickly within your company tool versus other data management solutions that companies normally explore in the ERP and PLM type worlds where it's a different scenario. So the idea is get yourself set up. If standard is the solution, then standard is the solution. If maybe the solution today and looking for and budgeting for a PDM Pro later, but start the conversation. Once again, we'd love to come and see you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. The emails are out here. Communicate with us or again with your reseller to continue this conversation and find out more. We've got more webinars coming in October. We're going to be focusing on plastics. We're also going to be having a session on inspection and MBD. We're going to have some great news on how those are going to work together. So look for emails inviting you to those. Hope you enjoyed this morning, learned a lot, and we look forward to seeing you on more webinars. Steve, to you, thanks again for being on, and for all of you joining us this morning, thanks for taking some time to learn more about PDM Pro. Have a great day and have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.